Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Ganana Tva Ganapati Havaamahe. Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam. Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspatha. Anashrinvalnoti Bisseda Sadhanam. Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Virvajinivati. Vinama Mitrayavatho Ganeshaya Namaha. Saraswatyai Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Jnananandamayam Devam Nirnalarspatikatrudhim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagreevamupasmahe Yasyat Virada Vakratyaya Parishatya Parashyatham Vignam Nignam Tisatatham Vishwashremam Tamashraye. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Gurave Sarvalokanam, Visaje Bhavaroginaha, Nidaye Sarva Vidyanam, Sri Dakshinamurthaye Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Sai Ram. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtyam Dvandvatnitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamashyadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadikshakshi Bhutam Bhavanityam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Ivom Tat Sat Sri Dharma Purushaya Arpanamastu. Ivom Tat Sat. Sai Ram, welcome. The Namo Namaha and Suswagatam, as in hello and welcome. Today, we're going to address the topic of Dharma, which is quite a wide topic. And in the consequential series leading up to the delivery of the Ramayana, it is quite potent as to where it has been placed, right? So we looked at duty and devotion last week, and today I wanted to look at Dharma, and next week look at faith, fear, and surrender in that order, all three in one. Because having looked at duty and having looked at devotion, today, when addressing the topic of Dharma, right, again, I want to put an end to this misconception that, or I'd like to put an end to this misconception that Dharma means duty. Okay? So first thing, as you will discover by the end of today's session, that's one of the objectives, right? Your learning objective is to understand that Dharma cannot be equated to duty. Duty is duty, Dharma is Dharma. Perhaps the way in which you discharge your duty, you have to pay credence, give recognition to the requirements and the calling of Dharma, but Dharma does not mean duty. Okay? So let me start by looking at the various definitions, right? These are the Western definitions, right? For example, if you look at Webster's dictionary, it says definition of Dharma is individual's duty as far as Hinduism is concerned, right? But I would add, yes, it's an observance of individual duty, but it is subject to the laws of Dharma, which is customary law, right? if you look at Webster's again, from a Buddhism perspective, it says, Webster's defines duty from, dharma from a Buddhism perspective by saying, is the basic principles of cosmic or divine law. Conformity to one's duty and nature. This is what it says in Webster's, but under the heading of Buddhism. Hinduism, it says an individual's duty fulfilled by observance of certain laws. I would say certain laws. What type of laws? Customary laws, universal laws, divine laws. So I would take the Buddhism definition and also add to the Hinduism division. After all, Buddhism is an extraction of Hinduism, right? If you look at the Oxford Dictionary, it says truth or law that affects the whole universe. Now, this is a bit more correct. Truth or law that affects the entire universe. So how is that a duty? All those people who've been saying Dharma is duty, now you tell me from an Oxford Dictionary perspective, right? I haven't even got to the Sanskrit word yet. Oxford Dictionary describes it as truth or law, satya and nidhi, right? That affects the entire universe. So how can that be duty, right? Okay. The Encyclopedia Britannica says, or it very clearly says in Hinduism, Dharma is the religious and moral law governing individual conduct and is one of the four ends of life. Obviously, they're talking about the four Purusharthas, right? But they don't mention it there. Religious and moral law governing individual conduct. So there is something there. But let me tell you about the different synonyms that have been associated, right? Largely as a result of Western influence and the growth of Western literature, focusing on Eastern manuscripts. There are many meanings of Dharma. Or as I said, the synonyms that have been attached to Dharma is like enlightenment. Okay, maybe the end result of you observing Dharma 100% may lead to enlightenment, but Dharma does not mean it is enlightenment. Okay, philosophy. Okay, right. From a literature perspective, I can accept that. I can deal with that. Conduct, I would say yes. But what does Swami says Dharma is right conduct, righteousness. Surely that cannot be duty. But the way in which you discharge your duty, what I said to you last week, must be based on Dharma. So there is a clear distinction between duty and Dharma. So going forward, please ensure that you think in this context, right? Compartmentalize duty, compartmentalize Dharma, don't equate them as one. Unless, of course, you are doing your duty based on your Dharma. Then it's a different matter, right? Law is another synonym that's attached to it. Okay, universal law, divine law, eternal law, that's fine. Obligation, yes, I would say so, right? Because every living person have to live their lives on the basis of the principles of Dharma. So that's an obligation. How many of us are discharging that obligation? So if you're saying I'm doing my duty, but not perhaps on the basis of Dharma, then clearly you're not keeping your obligations or you're not fulfilling your obligations. Principle, yes, but this is the best one I like, fundamental truth. That never changes. That is also one of the synonyms that have been attached to Dharma. So what is Dharma? Okay, right? Again, I haven't come to the Sanskrit word of Dharma yet, right? But the word Dharma, if you take the first three letters, right, or four letters, Dhar, D-H-R or D-H-R-A, Dhar, D-H-A-R, means to hold. To hold, and that's the etymological meaning, if you like, that which holds this world together, or the people of this world together. The whole creation from microcosm to macrocosm is based on the dharmic principle of eternal righteousness. That is the eternal divine law of the Lord when he created everybody, right? The entire creation, right? Entire creation is held together and sustained by this all-powerful law of God called Dharma. Hence, Krishna said, Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I will not come at any other time except Dharma samsthapanarthaya. That means whenever there is a decline in righteousness, then I will incarnate from age to age. You must know. Surely if people are failing in their duties, it doesn't call for God to incarnate. Again, clear demarcation between what duty means and what dharma means. That which brings well-being to man is dharma. Dharma supports the world. It is the basis on which the whole world, is preserved. Preservation. Dharma leads to eternal happiness. Immortality, yes, provided it is practiced. That which is dharma is verily the truth. Yatho satyam tatho dharma, yatho dharma tatho purushaha. Where there is truth, there is dharma. Where there is dharma, purusha is there. The creator is there. So whoever speaks the truth reflects dharma. Fantastic. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Satyam vada dharmam chara. So if you speak the truth and act righteously, every single minute of your life, finish. The end result is Devapada, Sharanagati. That's where you will surrender at the end of the day. Right? One of the same thing. You speak the truth and you act righteously, that's the end. Always, all the time. You cannot be, 75% of the time and then 25% of the time you are, negotiating or compromising. No, this is non-compromisable. Non-compromisable, non-delegable. Every single person. You have to discharge this. Right? So is there, so if you ask me, I would say there is no proper equivalent word in the English language for the Sanskrit term dharma. Dharma basically means doing the right thing at all times for the right reason towards everyone else. Simple. That is dharma. But should I change that definition if someone is my enemy? No. It means whoever does whatever to you, whenever, however, whysoever, your duty is not changing. Your duty is the same. Satyam vada, dharmam chara, premam kara. Right? So speak the truth, act righteously, and love equally, unconditionally. Then finish. If dharma is coming as a divine law from the divine to man, it is to make you, the man, Manusha, become like the Purusha. So it is transcendental in its application, in its functional value. It must change you from being one to becoming something else. Or if you're already that, then sustaining that to a level where there is no difference between Ayam Atman Brahma. You and Brahma are same. Right? Righteousness, right conduct. Hence, it is one of the 5 values. Satyam, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa. The Swami has given us. The basic principle of holiness. Basic principle of unity. You see, this is what Bhishma, once they were training, when the Pandavas were young, and the Kauravas were young, right? Bhishma was training them in the art of warfare. Right? And there was a time when the Kauravas, were always cheating and picking on the Pandavas. So once Yudhishthira went to him and he asked, what is the actual meaning of dharma and how do you distinguish that between adharma? So Bhishma Pitamaha. By the way, I think I've sent some messages around, right? Today is Bhishma Ekadashi, right? Today's Tithi is Ekadashi. Also on this day, apart from other things that may have happened on the same Tithi, right, is Bhishma's day when after he was given the grand vision by Lord Krishna, Krishna told him to share the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu with the Pandavas. So lying there on the bed of arrows, waiting for the right moment to live his life, to depart from his mortal coils, he recited and taught the Pandavas the Vishnu Sahasranama, the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, which is one of the huge almanac known all over the world, right? Many people recite it. And of course that became a big thing. It's also known, today is also known as Vishnu Sahasranama Jayanti. Hence, it was given on this day. Then, of course, after 58 days, see, some people wrote back to me and said, it's not today, it's in February. No, do your research properly, right? February 20th is Bhishma Ashtami. The Tithi on 20th of February is Ashtami. That is the day he chose to leave his mortal coils. That is the day his soul left and departed and was received. Right? So there is a clear distinction. This day, today, he gave the Vishnu Sahasranama, right? Because when he got the divine vision, Krishna removed every negativity that he had endured as a result of his karmic. And then, well, he's already endured because he's lying on the bed of arrows, right? As his blood was coming out, it was being purified, all the bad blood coming out. So Krishna blessed him and says, you are now fit to deliver the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu to the Pandavas. This day, then it happened. Okay, right. So Bhishma said that suddenly because I was talking about Bhishma. Bhishma told Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira, my son, whatever creates conflict, disagreement, right, uncomfortable feeling, whether it's in the mind or the body or the speech, whatever creates uncomfortableness, conflict, disagreement, that is adharma. Whatever puts an end to that conflict or discomfort is dharma. So basically, his dharma is you being in total unity and in total harmony with yourself. You see, that is why one of the greatest characteristics of Yudhishthira is he never deviated from that, right? Apart from the fact, the part where, in Mahabharata, where they play the dice and all of that, that's a separate matter. It's all a play leading to something bigger and grander. Right? So anything that helps unite, develop pure love, and contribute to universal brotherhood, that is dharma. Anything that creates discord, split, disharmony, foments hatred, that is adharma. Right? Dharma is the cementer. It's the cementer and sustainer of social life. So many things it is telling us, right? The rules of dharma actually have been laid down to regulate worldly affairs of men. So if we follow that, the consequences definitely has got to be happiness. But because we don't follow those rules strictly, we are where we are, right? Whether it is politics, economics, socio-cultural, judicial, whatever field you take, if dharma is not observed, the end result is chaos, right? Hence, if you protect it, it will protect you. If you go against it, it will go against you. Because every action has an equal and proportionate reaction, law of karma. So you see, dharma and karma go together now. You do good, you think good, you speak good, you act good, same karma will come. Good, 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 good. Anything bad, same karma will come. I can't be talking good and thinking bad. I can't be talking good, thinking good, but doing bad. So that is the dharma. Whether it is in your thought, words, or actions, it's got to be dharmic. Then the karmic effects will be the same, dharmic. So you can see the two going together now. So that which elevates you, that which leads you to the path of perfection, that which helps you to have direct communication and communion with the Lord, that is dharma. Dharma actually seeks to make you divine. Dharma is the ascending stairway where God is waiting at the end. Dharma leads you to self-realization. It means achara. Achara means self-regulation, daily discipline. So one of Swami's 5 Ds is discipline, right? I spoke about 2, duty and devotion, whether it's discipline, discrimination, and duty, discrimination, and one more thing. Yeah. I don't remember now. So dharma means acharya, tapasya, austerity. Right? When you actually follow dharmic laws, it will bring you to everything that you need in your life to complete your journey comfortably. 100% that's true. Right? So evil conduct, immorality, evil thoughts, evil words, all of that will of course attract the same thing. Like attracts like. That is dharma. That is a dharmic principle. So very easy. You have a choice. It's telling you. This, you get that. That, you get this. Choose. Because I've given you an intellect. I've given you buddhi. With your buddhi, you can control your mind, manas. So now you choose whether you want to act dharmically or dharmically. Right? The great Rishi Kannada said, Yatho adbhut yidhaya nishresyasa siddhihi si dharmaha. That means it is that which leads to attainment of abhyudhaya, prosperity, complete prosperity, and nishresyasa, total cessation of pain, nishresyasa. I mean, total annihilation of pain and attainment of bliss after is called dharma. There you go. And what is dharma based on? You think brother is saying so much of dharma, but what is the authority? What is the basis of dharma? What do we have here from ancient times? Vedanta, Vedas. The Vedas, whether you're talking about Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharvana Veda, Sama Veda, is based on Shruti and Smriti, right? What you see, what you hear. Shruti, hearing, Smriti, vision. So visualization and hearing. And of course, if you look at all the learning that has been given by all the great scholars in the world today, right? All the leading scholars, all the antiquarians, all the entire civilized world, if you like, they all declare with one voice, unequivocally, right? Books, everything that has been declared as knowledge or a platform of knowledge is based on the Vedas, right? And of course, the Vedas also say that as per time, the dharmas will change from time to time. So you have something called Yuga Dharma, Yoga Dharma, Yuva Dharma, so many things, right? And I'll talk to you about it just like a doctor prescribes different medication for different people. Why? According to their constitution, biological constitution, or their physiology and all of that. And of course, the nature of the disease. So too, the Hindu Dharma prescribes different duties, different callings, different responsibilities for different people. So one of those dharmas is Varna Ashrama. Dharma. Varna Ashrama Dharma. Again, so many people have completely misunderstood this. And I hope during my Gita sessions, I've injected some clarity, right? All these Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. This is called Varna Ashrama, the four caste. But you take away the caste, is the four groups of people doing specific duties. Okay? A farmer has to be a farmer. An IT guy has to be an IT guy. The IT guy cannot become a doctor. The doctor cannot become a farmer. The farmer cannot become an engineer. So everybody has been given some things to do. That is Varna Ashrama Dharma, right? I'll come back to that, right? So some rules are there for men, some rules are there for women, This is all part and parcel of us all evolving to that one point of emergence, right? Dharma depends, therefore, on time, on circumstance, on age, on degree of evolution, and the community to which one belongs. Why go so far? Today, if you go and do some search on the net, the Jain community in North London, I'm just giving you an example, right? You will get some organization there. The Tamil community in Wembley, definitely there'll be more than so many organizations. So Dharma also reflects in the community to which you belong, because you have a certain, Dharma to that community. But there are some basic fundamental truth or principles that is the foundation stone on which the Dharma is built. Like what? Ahimsa. You know what Swami said, isn't it? Satyam, truth, dharma, right conduct, prema, love, ahimsa, non-violence, and shanti, peace. These are all duties. So do we discharge everything that we do on these 5 principles, on these 5 petals? Ask yourself. When I spoke about chapter 16 of the Gita, right? I told you, Krishna said, let the scriptures, let not man, but let the scriptures be the authority in determining what ought to be done and what ought not to be done by man. Let not man decide that. Let the scriptures dictate that. Yeah. Karma kartum iharhasi, he's saying in chapter 16. I think it's verse 24. He's saying this. Krishna has said this. So who are we to challenge that? Who are we to challenge? He took an avatar to come and reinstate Dharma. And he is saying what constitutes Dharma? What can make Dharma take you to the end? There you go. Let the scriptures, what are the scriptures? The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Upavedas, all this. Telling you clearly, with no uncertain words, with no uncertain certainty, no doubts. Hence, live your life. How you live your life matters, as that becomes your dharma, and that very dharma dictates your karma. It's not just Hinduism, my friends, right? All other religions also are based on dharma. If you take Buddhism, if you take Jainism, if you take Christianity, if you take Sikhism, if you take Zoroastrianism, if you take Islam, they are all remarkably alive to the value of dharma. I mean, do your own research, please, right? And find out. Exactly. Great philosophers, not going now on the basis of religion, we're going on the basis of philosophy and literature. Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Kant, Swedenborg, Spinoza, all these great guys, striking examples in the rather interesting history of Western civilization, Western philosophy, on the high pedestal at which they have placed morality, duty, and righteousness, which we, from time immemorial, Sanatana Dharma, call it Sanatana Dharma. We call it Dharma, they call it same, right? So what happens when I practice this Dharma, brother? Well, the Purusharthas say that, isn't it? Purusharthas, it says Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And I've also mentioned this when I did Bhajagovindam, again when I did, Karma, and when I did the Bhagavad Gita. Now I'm mentioning again, because you see, it's the truth. This fundamental truth does not change regardless of when you are saying it. So, Dharma, Artha, classed together, Kama, Moksha, classed together. Dharma is right conduct, Artha is material possessions, Kama is desire or lust, Moksha is end result, Mukti, liberation, right? Merging with the divine. So Dharma is connected to Artha. That means whatever material acquisitions you are collecting in your life, it must be accumulated or acquired on the basis of Dharma. Dharma Artha. So collect everything that you have dharmically. Your money, you have earned it well. Spend it. Buy a house, buy a whatever, Dharma Artha goes together. Because when you do this, then only you can go into Kama Artha, Kama Moksha. Kama is desire or lust. Moksha is liberation. You can only get liberated from this human life, Manusha Janma, right? Nara Janma, only when you curtail and control desire. Bhajagovindam was full of this. Karma also I said to you. Gita also I said. Here again I'm saying, Ramayana also I'll be talking. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, straight. So Dharma, actually, if you look at the scriptures, given the foremost rank, any scriptures you take, Upanishads, yes. Keto Upanishad, Katha Upanishad talks about this. Kena Upanishad also talks about this. Dharma, right? So it is technically, if you look at it, Dharma is the first, right? Then comes Artha, Kama, then finally Moksha. So Dharma is the gateway to Moksha. Through the practice of Dharma alone can you ever hope to achieve the crowning glory of all human endeavors, which is Moksha, Mukti. Mukti. So Dharma actually leads to self-realization. 100%. The person who practices, the practitioner of Dharma only experiences good things. Joy, peace, strength, tranquility, sense of communion with God, right? You feel, you get transformed. That is, go more deeper and deeper, deeper. You become so indifferent to people. Whether you say good, whether you say bad, whether you do good, whether you do bad. As the mind, so the man. So let my mind be equal to everybody. There we go. So, two classifications of Dharma, right? Two classifications of Dharma. One is called Samanya Dharma. This is the universal Dharma. And then the other one is called Vishesha Dharma. So, two classifications, right? Samanya Dharma, universal Dharma. That means applies to everybody, right? Like things like you have to live in forgiveness, self-restraint, anti-theft, not stealing. You have to be happy. Happiness leads to contentment. Contentment leads to bliss in that order. Purity of mind, control of senses. So those kind of things are called Samanya Dharma, universal Dharma. Then there are some things called Vishesha Dharma, which is personal Dharma. This is the rules relating to, for example, the Varna Ashrama, the different castes, right? Of course, modern times people don't really stick to that, right? Because there are lots of Brahmins working as engineers, doctors, lawyers, IT, so on and so forth. Like that, many of the other castes have mixed and merged into other things. But these are what we call Vishesha Dharma. That means certain dharmic requirements attached to caste or community or those kind of things. But then again, Dharma assumes different forms. There are two classifications, but there are various forms, right? Now this, listen carefully, right? Because of course the basis is Sanatana Dharma, eternal righteousness, that which never changes. But from there, what I just told you, Samanya Dharma and Vishesha Dharma. So if you have the top, which is Sanatana Dharma, then you draw two arrows coming down, Samanya, Vishesha. Then from there, you will draw multiple arrows because there will be Varnashrama Dharma, duties of caste and order. There will be Swadharma, your own order. Swadharma Paripalanaha, that means what you have to do in your life, you have to do, regardless of everything else. There will be other things you need to do because you belong to a certain community, right? But this is Swadharma. Then you have Yuga Dharma, duty of the age. Of course, we have Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Satya Yuga, and Kali Yuga, right? Duty of the age. Yuga Dharma, Yuva Dharma, Yuddha Dharma, right? Law of the war. Yoga Dharma, law of the yogas. Kula Dharma, duty of the family. Manava Dharma, duty of a student, right? Purusha Dharma, duty of the male, the husband. Stri Dharma, duty of the wife, the female, right? Raja Dharma, duty of the king. Now, I will talk about this when I do Ramayana, because Rama was actually performing most of this, what I'm telling you now, right? Praja Dharma. Praja means Prajaha. That means the citizens, the subjects of the country. So, okay, I am your husband, Sita, but I am also the king. I have a Raja Dharma, but I am also the leader of the people. I have a Praja Dharma. So when I do something for the people, it might not be in other people's eyes as being fair to you, but I know what I need to do as a Stri Dharma. So when there is a conflict, I need to see the public interest is greater than private interest. Even today, we say that, isn't it? Pravritti Dharma, duty in your early life, and Nivritti Dharma, duty in spiritual life. My God, so many things in Dharma, yes. So many things. It was going endless when I was doing some research, right? It was going endless. So I thought I need to put this into context. So it's a great depth. What we just use is the word Dharma, and there are so many misconceptions. So let's look at some of these dharmas. We won't have time to go into every single category that I've mentioned, although I'd like to, but we'll take the main important ones and we'll see how they develop. Sanatana Dharma, I think you all know, right? Shruti, here is the foundation. Smriti, what you see are the walls. Itihasas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and the Puranas are the support, the buttresses, right? So the more you go into this, the more it will enlighten you and give you satisfaction. Samanya Dharma, universal Dharma. And of course, your specific form, which is Vishesha Dharma, personal, individual. What is Samanya Dharma? Samanya Dharma is that which changes according to change of time, change of place, change of surrounding, right? You call this Samanya Dharma, universally, right? What you do in one place at a given time, you cannot do at another place at a given time because the situation changes, consequences changes, people change, time change, the moral fabric change, the legal values change. So how can you be the same? So the law that was passed in 1784 cannot be equally applicable to 2021. Similarly, that is Dharma. So the Dharma of law says, right, don't look at today's event from the spectacles of 1784. Okay, so of course we all live in different times. Goodness is not the property of any one particular class, creed, sect, or community. That's why Swami says there is only one caste, the caste of humanity. There is only one language, the language of love. But there are many, I told you Vedas is the basis of Dharma, right? So if you look at the Vishnu Samhita, it talks about, just like in Gita chapter 16, Krishna was talking about, Deva qualities and Asura qualities. Vishnu Samhita talks about all the dharmic qualities, forgiveness, so many enumerations there. Forgiveness, truthfulness, control of mind, purity, peace, charity, all of this, control of the senses, non-violence, Guru Seva, visiting places of pilgrimage. Young people these days think their parents are wasting time dragging them to all these places of worship. That is the dharma of the parent. Matru dharma, pitru dharma. Then, of course, as teachers, like me, we have acharya dharma. The duty of the guru is guru, right? So, Mahabharata, of course, I don't have to say. Mahabharata talks about the dharma of the present generation to give oblations to the forefathers. And the same thing I will talk about when I address Ramayana. How Ravana, the arch enemy of Rama, came to his help, came to his aid, and did Dasharatha Shraddham in the middle of the battlefield. That is Dharma. Though he may be adharmic, he still did some things that of dharmic quality. Then when I talk to you about who actually Ravana was in 2 or 3, lifetimes before that, right? He had a choice, and he chose this because that would have got him nearer to Vishnu. Anyway, more of that when I do Ramayana. So Vishnu Samhita talks about dharmic principles. Mahabharata talks about dharmic principles. The Padma Purana talks about how from where dharma springs, right? Matsya Purana, the first ever avatar in the lineage of Dashavataram, Matsya Avataram. It talks about that. Matsya Purana. Why go so far? Patanjali, Maharishi Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, from where, this Iyengar yoga, all this have sprung up, right? Sprung up. He talks about, 10 qualities that must be based on dharma before one can actually engage in the field of yoga. Ahimsa, Satya, Brahmacharya, that means celibacy in thought, word, and deed, right? Astheya, that means, always being honest, not stealing anything. Aparigraha, non-covetousness, right? This is a form of self-restraint. He said, this is your dharma. If you don't have this, you can't do yoga, because yoga is all that, self-restraint, right? Then he says, Saucha, internal and external purity. Santosha, contentment or happiness. Tapasya, austerity. Swadhyaya, that means you must be able to study scriptures, or you must be able to recite certain types of mantras. And then, of course, he says, Ishvara Pranidanaha. Ishvara Pranidanaha, right? Consecration of the fruits, all works to be dedicated. Ishvara Pranidana means even the breath that you have, the breathing that you do, you have to dedicate to him. This is niyama. The earlier 5 I said was yama, self-restraint. This is niyama, or religious observance. And if you look at Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, 8 Ashtanga Yoga, 8 paths. And the basis, first you got to do yama. What I said to you. Ahimsa, Satya, Brahmacharya, Astheya, Aparigraha, 5. That is yama. Only once you master this, then you go to niyama, Saucha, Santosha, Tapasya, Swadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidana, 5. Then niyama. Then you go to asana, the postures. Then you go to pranayama, regulating your breath. Right? Then you go to pratyahara and dharana. Then dhyana. Then samadhi. Dharma. That's the Dharma of Yoga Sutras, right? So, what is the fun? Again, when I spoke to you about the Gita, I remember when I did chapter 16, one of the things I said to you was Devi Sampat, divine qualities versus Asura Sampat, which is Asuric qualities or demonic qualities, right? So when you actually engage in these qualities, it actually charts your journey. It becomes the sat nav. It gives you the right sort of coordinates to say, right, you're doing this, so go here. Next right. After that, take the third, take the, go straight, turn left. No, it will chart your journey. But if you do the opposite, then of course it will also chart the journey for you. The destination may be different, right? Dharma, Christianity, what did Christ say when he was up on the mountain giving the sermon? He says, the noble path. This is exactly what Buddha also said, right? Christ said, when someone slaps you on the left, show your right cheek. It does not mean that physically, but he says, when someone does harm to you, you have a choice. You have a choice. You don't have to do harm to them. Bless them and carry on. Because what you can do is limited within your human means, but what nature and universe can do, what the law of Dharma can do, you can't touch. So why do you want to do something that you don't have the capacity to do to the full expectation? There you go. So he says, leave it to nature, right? Well, what does Hinduism say? Divine qualities, once you go into this Devi Sampat, developing the divine qualities, right? This is indispensable for the attainment of self-realization. Because once you realize and you sort of drench yourself in that truth, and you drink that, that essence, that rasa, that sara, then you'll realize Brahman is true. Satyam iti Brahmaha, yatho satyam tatho Brahma, yatho Brahma tatho Dharma. There you go. Eternal cannot be attained. It cannot be attained without practicing truth. That's why Swami says, tell the truth, shame the devil, be fearless. Be fearless. What else? Eternal cannot be attained unless you become absolutely fearless, right? Attachment to the body causes fear, and that fear will stop you from. This is called Deha Dhyasa. Deha Dhyasaha. That means the attachment to the body and bodily pleasures, right? Only if you become pleasure, then you identify the body as one thing, and of course, what did Ramana Maharishi say? He says it's become difficult for people in modern days because they have rendered their heart harder than flint, steel, or diamond through the various desires or mohavasanas like greed, miserliness, harshness, rudeness. But he says all is not lost. You can still soften, but only through the perseverance of practicing mercy, sympathy, charity, generosity, magnanimity, harmlessness, mindfulness. Dedicate everything. Service. He talks about service. Serve the poor. That's why he says Jana Seva is Janardana Seva. Right? Move away. Ramana Maharishi says, move away from hypocrisy. Move away from untruthfulness, backbiting, tampering. Backbiting, one of the 9-point code of conduct. Do not speak ill. Swami says, you don't have to please everybody. You can speak in an obliging way. Right? So, this is how you purify your thoughts. Once your thoughts become purified, your words become purified. Once your words become purified, your actions become purified. When your thoughts, words, and deeds are all purified, that's it. Dharma samsthapanarya sambhavami yuge yuge. He will come and protect you. Finish. Ahimsa. Ahimsa is also a dharmic principle, and many people only attach ahimsa, non-violence, to physical elements. No. Ahimsa means ahimsa in your thoughts. Manam, Vak, Karya. Man ahimsa, Vak ahimsa, Kriya ahimsa. Right? That means non-violence in your thoughts, non-violence in your words, non-violence in your actions. I'm not saying it, that is dharmic expectation. 24/7, 365, every waking day of your life. Because ahimsa is truth in action. Ahimsa is truth in action. Retaliation is not. Right? You retaliate. I always say, don't react. Don't react, always respond. Then you can see different principles coming in to assist you. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. When you practice dharma, the very dharma will come and protect you. So why worry? Why do you worry? What is going to happen will happen. This is the Gita. You have no control. Remember, you're not the doer. See, all these things, right, should make you a solid mega mind from where you can catapult yourself to merge with Brahma. All this information that you're getting, right? Brahman is Sat, Sat, Chit, Ananda, right? Sat is truth, Chit is thoughts. When your thoughts are full of truth, the end result is Ananda. Ananda is bliss. Hence, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, Chit, Ananda. So anybody asks you how to be happy, just say it. Just live in truth. Top, bottom, left, right, round, anywhere. Truth, 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 truth. Ekam Sat. Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. Ek Onkar Satnam Garta Bhurak. Bismillah Rahman Ibrahim. Truth is only one. This is all they are saying. Right? Our Father who art in heaven. There you go. Harishchandra lived on these principles of Satyam Vada Dharmam Chaya. Great King Harishchandra. And the same thing, Yudhishthira also devoted to truth. That is why even when the Kauravas wanted to do harm to the Pandavas, they would say, okay, ask Yudhishthira. Because they know Yudhishthira will never lie. He will never lie, whatever the circumstances. Right? So there is no virtue higher than truth. As I said, the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, the world is supposed to be rooted in truth. Dharma is rooted in truth. If this has been observed, then we wouldn't be where we are today. What does Swami say? Love is my form, truth is my breath, place is my food. You don't know what to do? My life is my message, expansion is my life. No reason for love, no season for love. If you do this, no birth, no death. Dharma Satya Ananda Prema Shanti Ahimsa. Some more. How simple more can a message be given? No reason for love, no season for love. But we have converted that. We have made what is given to us unconditionally become conditional. My family, my wife, my husband, my son, my daughter, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law, my job, my car, my must go. Kill the my. Then you'll see the Maya will go. When you kill the Maya will go. Right? Because purity will only come with mana and hridaya shuddhi. Mana means mind, hridaya means heart. When mind and heart are clear, clean, pure, then unity will come. Hence, Swami has introduced unity and purity. I spoke to you about the Gita. I spoke to you about the body of the chariot, the chariot structure. And I said that represents the body of man. If you want to have a clear mind and a solid intelligence, that body has got to be maintained. What makes the body is what you put inside, isn't it? Food. Food has got to be sattvic. And I spoke to you about food and sattvic food, again, when I did Gita. Sattvic food, sattvic mind, sattvic words, sattvic actions. Rajasic food, rajasic mind, rajasic words, rajasic actions. Tamasic food, tamasic mind, tamasic words, and tamasic actions. Right? Like Kumbhakarna. When I talk to you about Ramayana, I will tell you sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Which of the three brothers had what sort of? Vibhishana, sattvic. Ravana, rajasic. Kumbhakarna, tamasic. Like that. Right? So, Deho, Deva, like the body is the temple of God. What you put in there. If you want the foundation to be strong, you must add right number, right amount of cement, right amount of sand, and right amount of water, then it's solid. If it's too liquidy or too, then it's not going to work. Right? So, let's look at self-control, self-restraint, or samanya. dharma. Okay, you must have perfect self-control or self-mastery if you want to go into this samyamana mantra, dharma, right? Samanya, samyamana, samanya and samyamana. Now, so many negativities, right? So many bad qualities. A key question is, how do we overcome that? How do we overcome that? So here, the samyamana dharma is telling you overcome anger and hatred by shama, forgiveness, love and selfless service. So this is the answer that the law of dharma is giving to all the bad things that we are experiencing. Overcome anger and hatred by practicing shama, forgiveness, love and selfless service. Overcome evil by good. That means for every bad that happens, give good. You will turn it around over a period of time. Simple thing, right? If you give me one glass of, let's say, Coca-Cola, right? For example, Coca-Cola, right? And I ask you, can this black drink in this glass become white? No, it's impossible. Yes, you can. You add one glass of water. What will happen? Some of the black will come out. At the bottom, you'll have some white. Add another glass of water. You keep adding the white to the black. After some time, after consistent and constant practice, the entire black glass will become white. So black is adharma, white is dharma. So in life, if you are experiencing adharma, inject dharma, inject dharma, inject dharma, inject dharma. After some time, that life will become dharma. Don't take my word for it, try it out in life. Right? So overcome anger and hatred by shama, forgiveness, love and selfless service. That's why Swami says selflessly service. Nishkama karma, selfless service. Overcome evil by doing good continuously. Right? If somebody does evil, do good. This is not only Hinduism saying it, right? Christianity says it, Islam says it, Buddhism says it, Jainism says it, Sikhism says it. So surely, if you don't have faith in Hinduism, then at least follow all the other major religions, because they say the same thing. Samyak vak, samyak drishti, samyak chintanam, samyak mananam, samyak kriyam. Buddha. Overcome lust by the practice of self-restraint, regular japa and meditation. Celibacy in your thoughts, celibacy in your words. Right? Even though you belong to the grahastha stage, right? Conquer or overcome greed how? Charity. Dhanadipati, when you give dhana. Charity, generosity, and generally do good, but don't get involved in the returns, or as I say, the recognition, the award or the reward. Conquer pride by humility, conquer jealousy by magnanimity. You need to have Atma Bhava. And yes, conquer egoism by Tyaga, self-sacrifice, self-surrender, self-abnegation, self-meditation, right? Move from duality to non-duality. Okay. So now, I'm going to talk about the Varna Ashrama Dharma, which has been completely exploited by politicians and by, economists with a certain theory that, a divided society is far more easily influenced and controlled. I am not just saying this from my research, right? Bhagavan Sri Krishna actually said this to Arjuna, and I mentioned this when I did the Gita with you. I clearly remember that, right? The principle of the Varna Ashrama Dharma is one of the basic principles of Hinduism, right? That's only because it has come from the Lord himself, and then it has been put into society. But as politics grew, as governance of the people grew, this concept also was stretched in so many different ways that it is now totally misconceived. Of course, it is peculiar to Hindus, so all the other religions say, oh, you guys are talking, but you all are the ones who practice, this caste discrimination. Actually, let me clear this concept for you, right? If you ask me, right, from a practical perspective, the entire world practices Varnashrama. Entire world practices Varnashrama. The whole world practices it, but in different way. They don't call it caste. Right? They have a different name or a different label for it. For example, right, whether you work in a government department or in the private sector, do they not have a pay scale for certain types of jobs that people do? Right? Especially government jobs. They say, oh, this is a pay grade 9 on the pay spine or pay scale or whatever. And if you're coming and doing this job, it is pay scale number 16. That is not varnashrama. So you're either treating me as a brahmana and giving me the highest pay, or you're treating me as a sudra and giving me the lowest pay. So there is no difference. We call it varnashrama. They call it something. They call it pay grade, for example. Right? And of course, they have. If you look at any job today, right? They have job specification. They have person specification. Right? It is a purely economic concept and has nothing to do with religion per se. And what did Krishna tell Arjuna? Chapter 16, verse 24. I told you earlier, go and read this. Chapter 16, verse 24, quote unquote. He says, let the scriptures and only the scriptures tell you what you should do and what you should not do. So if it says, I have created this, and Krishna says, I am the creator of these four, because certain people need to do certain things. That is only a job that they have. Do you ever see any farmer fighting in the early days war? No, only soldiers fight, isn't it? You belong to this country. If, let's say, this country that you're staying in goes to war, do you, a householder, go and fight? No, because you are not a soldier. The soldier only goes to fight. So if you're a businessman, then you are a Vaishya, and the soldier is a Kshatriya. And who's the Brahmanas? Oh, okay, they're all the politicians, because, they do different things. So you tell me, where is there a direct connection or link or nexus to religion? Nothing. They do this, you do this, you do that. In a company, my friends, in a company, do you think let's say it's got 40 workers, 40 employees in a company. Are you telling me all 40 are doing the same thing? No. Same employer, yes, but 40 of you are doing 40 different things. That is varnashrama. But as far as Hinduism is concerned, yeah, it's a characteristic feature, but it's been misunderstood, misconceived, right? And totally misinterpreted and misapplied. Now, of course, in India, there are laws that says you can't practice this, right? This is Varna Dharma, Varna Ashrama Dharma. Same thing, if you have the ashrama, the four ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanapatishtha, and Sannyasa. 4 stages, 4 ashramas. Are you going to do the same thing in all the 4 ashramas? No, because when you're a brahmacharya, there are certain callings, right? I said to you when I did Bhaja Govindam, isn't it? Bhalastavat krida saktaha, tarunastavat taruni saktaha, vriddhastavat chinta saktaha, parame brahmane kopina saktaha. Varnashrama. What is your duty? It changes as you move. It changes, right? That's the principle. That's the main principle, right? And if you do the job and you focus on the job and you do the job and you don't expect to be given the rewards or whatever, and of course, if you work, you get paid. But what I'm saying is, whatever good you do, you don't claim the rewards for it. Human society is like a huge machine. Huge machine. You need different parts to make that one machine work. If that one part does not work, it doesn't matter how good all the other parts are working, the machine will stop. So in a community, for the economy of a society, of a country to flourish, every sector of the society must function. The farmers must do, Sudras must do, the Vaishyas must do business, Kshatriyas must guard the country, and the Brahmanas will look after the religious aspect. Oh, what fantastic planning is this? I mean, if he has created it, he's telling, I am the one who's created. I am the inexhaustible, and I have created these 4 ashramas for a reason. You want to build your house. You want to do an extension. You call a contractor, right? Does the contractor come and bring 20 workers and say, do what you all want? In 2 weeks, I want this extension to be built. No. He will bring some people to just do the roof. Finish. Some people to come and just build the skeleton. Finish, go. Some people to come and do the plumbing. Finish, go. Some people to come and do the electrician. Finish, go. Then the internal decorators will come. This is Varnashrama. For a reason. End of the day, if everybody does their job well, what do you get? A beautiful house, beautiful extension. Can you imagine what will happen if you say, we bring 20 fellows and say, right, this is the picture, do what you want. So if there was no Varnashrama, right, who will decide to do farming? Who will decide to run the temples? Who will decide to do business? And who will decide to guard the country? The fantastic planning, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Fantastic planning. And the Creator has done this. So it is not for you and me to question, oh, why is there a caste system? No, your understanding is flawed. Your understanding is extremely flawed. Correct that first. And then you go and ask the Creator, why did you do this? Fantastic this is. Right? Everywhere in the world it is practiced. Why just look at the Hinduism and say, oh, you are discriminating? No. If the rules of the Varna Ashrama is violated, society will soon perish. The aim of the Varna Ashrama Dharma is to promote the development of universal, eternal treatment of people doing different things. In a hospital, everybody doing the same job? No. Some are doctors, some are consultants, some are registrars. Why? They all studied medicine. So why one is a doctor, one is a registrar, one is a specialist, one is a consultant, and one is a professor teaching people how to do it? Then you have the cleaner, you have the nurse, you have the auxiliaries, you have the matron. One hospital treating the same patient. That is how you should see Varna Ashrama from today, from this moment going on. Anybody tells you discrimination, you talk to them about this. You say, explain your different pay grades. Explain your different requirements for different jobs. Right? Can you do IT with a farming degree, with an agricultural degree? You can't, isn't it? So what is that? You're not discriminating the farmer from becoming an IT? Talk, logically talk. Then they will understand. This was actually created. But of course, as you know, it's been exploited and manipulated. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. The moment you act according to the laws of Dharma, in case you are, if Hindus themselves talk to you, other is you talk to them about the Purusha Shuktam. Again, I have made mention of this. In the Purusha Shuktam, there comes a particular a verse, right? A part of the Purusha Shuktam. Purusha Shuktam, Sahasra Sirisha Purusha, that one, right? If you read, there comes, I think it's number 10 or number 11, right? Brahmano Syamukamasit Bahu Rajanyakritaha Urotadasya Vaishyaha Patbhyagum Sudro Ajayatha Mukha Indraschagnischa Pranat Vayurajayatha Chaksho Suryo Ajayatha. Fantastic. It's saying Brahmanohosya Mukamasid. If you take a form, let's say we take Narayana, right? Or you take Lord Shiva, say Brahmanohosya Mukamasid. Brahmans are seen as the face, whether it's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Bahu Rajanya Kritaha. This is the Kshatriyas. They are the shoulders. Then up to the legs, Uru, Tadasya Vaishyaha. These are the business community. And the feet, Sudra. The lowest caste, if you like. How do they do Abhishekam when they pray? They first start at the feet. How many times I've taken you through Paduka Pujas? Why? Because I said worship of the feet is equivalent to worship of the entire figure. In fact, it is far more powerful. How do you show humility? You fall at the feet of the elders. So how can you say Sudra is the lowest when even worship of the Lord starts at the feet? There you go. Purusha Shuktam is saying this. And you are still going to say there is a caste difference? No. The whole Lord comes to you as, yeah, this is part, this part, this part. And I cannot be just the face. I cannot be just the shoulder. I cannot be just the upper part of my body, the torso, or I cannot be just the legs. I have to be complete. And to be complete, I have to have all these qualities. There you go. I told you, isn't it? Look at it, chapter 4, verse 13. Chapter 4, verse 13. Krishna says, I have created the forecast. It was emanated by me by the different distribution of qualities and actions. Know me to be the author of this Varnashrama. Can you cite that? Chaturvanyam Maya Shrishtham. He talks about this. If you ask me, from a spiritual perspective, I would actually say the Varna ashrama or the caste system is spiritual economics. Spiritual economics. You can use this term, right? Spiritual economics. Economics means what? Division of, labor and resources according to what you want to get. Simple. You want to produce A, you have to put in B, C, D. Only when you put in B, C, D, you get product A. Like that, in order to make man, in order to make society become functional, become effective, become constructive, I need to put people who are doing this thing specifically, people who are doing this thing specifically, people who are doing this thing. So collectively, the nation flourishes. But all that has been overlooked and just say, you are A, you are B, you are C, you are D. No, 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 no. It is part and parcel of achieving a greater means. It is a means to the end. It's not the end. Okay. Right? So this was actually thought of and devised by Krishna. Chapter 4, verse 13. This is what I told you. Chapter 4, verse 13. And earlier, chapter 16, verse 24, I said to you. Right? Check it out. Anyway, I covered it when I did the Gita with you. Right? So this is law of spiritual economics, if you ask me. You understand? So when someone else talks to you, right, you have to inject some logic and some sensibility into their flawed thinking. But to do that, you have to ensure that your thinking is also flawed. You think you're born a Brahmin, you think you're a Brahmin? No. Krishna says a Brahmana is not a Brahmana if he is not endowed with purity and good character. And if he leads a life of dissipation and immorality, he is not a Brahmana, even though he may be born in that. So how do you say caste system is, conclusive? No. He also says a Shudra is a Brahmana if he leads a virtuous and pious life, right? Once Krishna was talking to Arjuna and he says, let me give you an example. He says, if you look at Vidura, Vidura was born, right, as a brother to Dhritarashtra. But of course, his mother was a maid in the palace. And Dhritarashtra's, mother was married to Dhritarashtra's father, Ram, right? So, even though he was the son of a maid, he became a great, great, great advisor and a confidant. And whenever Krishna goes to Hastinapur, he only stays in Vidura's house. But you look at Duryodhana, born to a king, the higher to the entire, kingdom. What was his outlook? So even though he is born a Kshatriya, he was behaving something else. Vidura was not of a Kshatriya caste, not a Brahmana caste, but his behavior was at the top. So this is what Krishna is saying. Do not judge people according to their birth. Judge people according to their character. And what does Swami say? Swami says the end of education is character. If you don't have the character, doesn't matter what caste you've been born into, you will not get where you're supposed to go. Duryodhana, Vidura. Krishna is saying this to Arjuna. So you can be such a noble person even though your background is different. Right? How was Karna treated simply because people didn't know his background and they said, oh, you're a son of a charioteer. But his character was not looked at all. His birth community was looked at. Great. That's why Krishna said to Arjuna, you think you won the war, right? So many forces had to fight Karna in order for you to win the war. So what I'm saying is, if your character is right, so many forces will come to your aid to make you win this war against life. There you go. So, my dear friends, next time, don't ask someone, are you Brahmana? Are you Kshatriya? Are you Vaishya? Are you Shudra? Are you this? Are you that? Are you this? Are you that? If you're really his devotee, right? If you're really follow Swami, you should say there is only one caste, the caste of humanity. Cut me, blood comes out. What's the color of my blood? Red. Any person living in this world you take and you do the same thing. The blood is red. Right? It is only significant how a person lives his or her life and the character that they live their lives by. That is the true Dharma. Each stage has its own duties. I said to you, as a brahmacharya, you have certain dharmic callings. Go to school, study well, blah, blah, blah. You are not expected to do the duties or the dharma of a grahastha during a brahmacharya. No. Grahastha time, you do grahastha based dharma, not brahmacharya based dharma. When you are supposed to do one thing, you do that thing. Do that thing well, then go to the next thing. Do that. That is dharma. Dharma of, continuity. Privritti, nivritti. Path of work, path of spirituality, renunciation. There you go. So dharma is the basis of spiritual evolution. But if you have a karmic history, then you don't have to be born into a specific ashrama and of course do it as progressively from brahmacharya to grahastha to vanapdesa sannyasa. If you look at Sukha Maharishi, he was born a sannyasin. If you look at Adi Shankara, in his young age he took sannyasam. And why he took sannyasam? Again, that was a divine play. His mother didn't allow him. And he prayed to Vishnu. Vishnu came as a crocodile, and once he was bathing, his mother was sitting there. And Shankara shouted, "Amma, please let me take sannyasa at least before my life is taken by this crocodile." She gives him the blessing and he says, he recites the sannyasa mantra, and the crocodile becomes Vishnu and goes. So this is what I mean. The karma will follow you, my dear brothers and sisters, right? Whether it's dharmic in thought, dharmic in word, dharmic in action, that's the key. Character in your thoughts, character in your words, character in your actions, right? So you can be moved according to the karmic, the karmic consequences that you accumulate. That is Yuga Dharma. What the yugas are, 4 yugas, right? Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. So what was a requirement in Satya Yuga was not the same sort of requirement in Treta Yuga. What was different in Rama's time cannot be the same in Krishna's time. Dwapara Yuga was different, changed to a different form. And of course, Kali Yuga, completely different. Kali means age of destruction, right? So if you see in Satya Yuga, that means the entire Yuga was filled with Satya. That means the mind of people were generally pure, no distraction, clear. And Treta Yuga, they went into things like yajna, sacrifices, or these havans and all those things, Treta Yuga, right? People had active tendency. So you can see that there's a slight change from Satya Yuga into Treta Yuga. Dwapara Yuga, okay, you had Kauravas, completely adharmic, and you have Pandavas, completely dharmic. Different. And of Kali Yuga, too many distractions. So you can see the slow evolution of the pendulum moving from one end to the other end. This is called Yuga Dharma. So you cannot expect to live, you cannot be expected to live in Kali Yuga with the same sort of expectation that people lived in Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. There you go, that is Yuga Dharma. That's why Shankara said, in Brahma Bhashya, when he wrote that, he said, Asthiram jivane loke, Asthiram yavvanam dhanam, Asthiram dharaputradi, Satyam kirti dvayam stiram. What is he saying? Asthiram jivane loke. The life in this world is impermanent. Asthiram yavvanam dhanam. Impermanent are the youth and wealth. Asthiram dharaputradi. Your wife, your children, all these are impermanent. And he says, Satyam kirti dvayam stharam. I say, at the end of the day, only truth and good deeds, kirti. These two will save you, Sai Ram. Your dharma is to earn a good name. Your dharma is to always speak the truth. Your dharma is to always speak the truth and do the right thing at any point in time. Whether it is at work, it is at school, it is at college, it is at home, that expectation never changes. Man is born out of Amrita, immortality, but is merging into Anrita, which is falsehood. Again, right? Amrita, Anrita. And you must ask yourself, what is making us go into this Anrita? After all, we are immortality. You know, we should be living, this life of Amrita that will take it to Amrita status. Education you get is to enable you to serve better, to share what you have, share your richness, your riches. Education is meant for dharmacharana, not dhanarjana. Dharmacharana, practice of righteousness, not dhanarjana, practice of acquiring wealth, right? And this is the basis of the world. Dharma moolam idam jagat. That means the entire jagat, creation, is based on the principles of dharma. So a few tips for you to take away at the end of the day, right? Follow your dharma with zeal, with enthusiasm. Discharge your duties faithfully and, on the basis of truth. Right? Satyam vada dharmam chara. Develop all the virtues that enshrines or constitutes dharma. Never deviate from this path of right conduct or righteousness. Stick to dharma with your heart, with your mind, with your soul, and perform all your duties. Dharma. Because the Lord has said, when this dharma is not followed, then I will incarnate to correct it. So if you're following dharma, the same Lord will come to save you. And that will take you. I said, dharma is the gate to moksha, isn't it? Dharma samstapanarya sambhavami yuge yuge. If God has said, whenever there is a decline in dharma, I will incarnate, then how important is it, my dear brothers and sisters? There can't be any greater statement of fact, statement of truth than that. So he's telling you, dharma should be everybody's middle name. Every single person. Particularly if you are following a guru, right? You say, what is your dharma to your guru? Anyada sharanam nasti tvameva sharanam mamaha tasmat karunya bhavena raksha raksha Sai Ishvara. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sai Ishvara Pranamastu. Sai Ram.